As we get closer to UFC 309, fans can't stop wondering, is Bo Nickal ready for someone like Paul Craig? This isn't just another fight for Nickal. He's stepping into the octagon against an opponent known for his tricky submission game and his ability to turn the fight around in an instant. We all know Bo has world-class wrestling and heavy hands, but will those be enough against a dangerous grappler like Craig? If you're a fan of high-stakes matchups and seeing rising stars put to the test, you won't want to miss this breakdown. Make sure you watch until the end, because this fight could end in any number of ways, and it might just surprise you. All of the information in this video comes directly from the official Forbes website. We've gathered key insights and data straight from their latest reports to ensure accuracy and provide you with the most reliable details available. Bo Nickal's upcoming fight against Paul Craig is likely to be one of the biggest challenges of his UFC career, especially considering Craig's submission skills. While Nickal has enjoyed an undefeated start in the UFC with a 6-0 record, including 3 submission wins and no fights extending beyond the second round, Craig's experience and technical submission abilities could make this fight more challenging for Nickal than anything he has faced so far. Nickal's impressive record, both in wrestling and MMA, gives him strong credentials. As a 3-time NCAA Division I national champion and a dominant force in collegiate wrestling, he transitioned to MMA with great success, picking up wins quickly after securing a UFC contract. Known for his grappling expertise and wrestling control, Nickal has shown his ability to dictate the pace and maintain dominance in his bouts. This has allowed him to secure submission finishes and remain largely untested in prolonged or grueling battles. So far, Nickal's opponents have not been able to threaten him significantly. In fact, he mentioned that he has barely been hit in any of his matches. His dominance has been so apparent that he was a massive betting favorite in his first few UFC fights, demonstrating the confidence the betting public has in him. However, Paul Craig brings a unique challenge to the octagon. With over 7 years of experience in the UFC and a record of 17-8-1, Craig has faced many high-level opponents and built a reputation as a submission specialist. Craig's career has had ups and downs, especially in the last 2 years, where he has won just 1 fight out of 5, including a recent knockout loss to Caio Borralho. Yet, his submission skills and his ability to reverse positions make him a potentially dangerous opponent for a fighter like Nickal, who typically controls opponents on the ground. Craig's grappling is known for catching fighters off guard, sometimes even when he seems to be at a disadvantage. His expertise could test Nickal's ability to avoid these submissions while trying to control the fight on the ground. Nickal himself acknowledges the need to step up in competition and is motivated to face more dangerous opponents. His ambition is clear. He aims to reach a 12-0 record before going for the title. While confident, Nickal remains aware that this fight will be more challenging than his previous ones, as he has yet to experience a situation where he is seriously threatened in the octagon. Paul Craig, on the other hand, has been a consistent figure in the UFC for years. While he has recently struggled with a 2-fight losing streak, he's still a dangerous opponent who can capitalize on mistakes and turn fights around when it seems least expected. Craig's experience in the octagon is significant. He has faced tough fighters across different styles and has developed a level of resilience and adaptability that Nickal has yet to experience in his career. Craig's fighting style often involves pushing his opponents into uncomfortable situations, using his grappling and experience to find openings for submissions, especially when opponents underestimate him. So, will Nickal's wrestling be enough to keep him in control, or will Craig's experience prove too much? On paper, Nickal's wrestling dominance should give him an edge, as he has consistently been able to dictate the pace and positioning of his fights. However, Craig's experience and ability to handle challenging situations could come into play, especially if he can weather Nickal's early aggression and force him into deeper waters. Unlike most of Nickal's previous opponents, Craig is unlikely to be overwhelmed right away. His experience may enable him to survive early and look for opportunities as the fight progresses. In addition, Nickal's immense popularity has led to him being a huge betting favorite, as seen in previous fights where he entered as high as a -2,000 favorite, showing the confidence fans and bettors have in Nickal's abilities. However, Nickal himself has acknowledged that these odds are crazy, showing he understands the importance of respecting Craig's skills and experience. Ultimately, this fight will reveal whether Nickal's wrestling control is truly enough to dominate at the next level. If he can impose his wrestling and keep Craig on the defensive, Nickal is likely to continue his undefeated streak. But if Craig's experience allows him to exploit any gaps in Nickal's game, this matchup could challenge Nickal in ways he hasn't faced before. As Bo Nickal faces Paul Craig at UFC 309, fans are curious about what to expect from this highly anticipated fight. Both fighters come with unique strengths and contrasting styles, setting up an intriguing matchup. Nickal's rising star power and wrestling dominance clash with Craig's experience and submission expertise, creating a fight that could go in multiple directions depending on how each fighter approaches the battle. Expect Nickal to rely heavily on his wrestling against Craig, taking the fight to the ground where he is most comfortable. From this position, Nickal will likely aim to overwhelm Craig with control and pressure. His game plan could revolve around wearing Craig down over time, avoiding risky positions where Craig could find a submission, and maintaining dominance throughout the rounds. Nickal has shown that he can finish fights quickly, so he will look to impose his wrestling early and prevent Craig from dictating the pace. Craig, meanwhile, enters this fight as a seasoned UFC veteran. Craig has consistently proven to be a dangerous submission fighter who can turn the tables on his opponents, often from unexpected positions. Despite being known for his grappling, Craig's experience in MMA gives him an edge in strategy and adaptability. His unpredictable submission setups and creative use of his guard could give Nickal trouble if the fight does go to the ground. Craig has a habit of catching opponents in submission traps, especially when they are overly aggressive or overly confident on the ground, so he may look to bait Nickal into such traps. He might try to keep the fight standing, or at least avoid being controlled for long periods on the mat. He may attempt to find striking opportunities or counter-grapple to force Nickal into mistakes. Craig has an edge and familiarity with high-level competition and could capitalize if Nickal underestimates his resilience and ability to endure tough positions. For fans, the fight promises an interesting clash of styles. If Nickal can establish his wrestling dominance and keep Craig from gaining any leverage, we could see a continuation of Nickal's rapid rise through the ranks with another early finish. However, if Craig can survive the initial onslaught and force Nickal into extended grappling exchanges, he could create opportunities to surprise Nickal, especially if the fight goes past the first few rounds. This clash between Nickal's raw power and Craig's crafty experience makes the fight unpredictable. In the end, this fight between Bo Nickal and Paul Craig has all the makings of a showdown you won't want to miss. Nickal's powerful wrestling and fast finishes face off against Craig's crafty submissions and years of UFC experience. Will Nickal's rise continue with another big win, or will Craig's skill and toughness be too much for him? Tune in to see if Bo can keep his undefeated streak, or if Craig has a surprise up his sleeve. This fight could go in any direction, and that's what makes it so exciting. Don't forget to watch for more updates, breakdowns, and everything you need to know. Stay tuned.